Hey y'all, how you doing today? This is Evan with Fifth Third Trading. Today we have, where's my sweater at? A wonderful day in the neighborhood, a wonderful day in the neighborhood. I feel like Mr. Rogers. Kobe. Only a matter of time till I get fired. All right, I'm taking bets on over-under getting fired within a year and a half, you tell me. So in all seriousness, what other stock channel is going to make Mr. Rogers jokes while teaching you? None. I'm A1. I'm it. So with all dumb jokes aside, this is our whole entire watch list from the week. As we can see, there's some red on it, but let's take a little bit deeper look at it. We look up here, PTGX, we kind of cashed out yesterday. AMRX was a day play. And then every single else one, SWI we didn't play. But a lot of these in this area are negative point something or -1. That's okay. You're not going to lose sleep over that. But down here, we have a bunch of green, right? A bunch of green. Looks really good. CLNE looks great. G-Sky looks great. SPT looks great. PSNL looks good. They look really good, right? So just blindly speaking, you could have bought most of my stocks and probably been in the green. AEY, it was 25% yesterday alone. CLNE today looks really, really good. So it's all coming together very, very well. What's up?
Do you also need a key to C201, the computer lab?
I never use it, so I should be okay. I'll take it.
No, I thought it said EvanMPressman.
Nah.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. You got the wrong one, big fella. So with that being said, today we have another watch list for you. Again, the main goal is education and actual application. My whole entire goal is for you 9-to-5 traders, for you intermediate traders, you noobs out there, all you folks who follow Wall Street bets and are like, oh, let's go, baby, chicken tendies, blah, 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 and make a bunch of money. Yeah, you can, but let's do this the correct way, right? You can follow any Discord chat you want. I watch a lot of them. They're all kind of just selling you falling knives. You know, if you're dropping a knife in the kitchen, you're not supposed to catch it. Just let it hit the ground. They're all trying to catch that first pullback on those big name stocks with 10 million volume, right? I'm not going to teach you that. I'm going to teach you proper technical analysis. Sprinkle on a little baby fundamentals on top. You know, make sure the stock isn't like a Nikola or whatever it is, and we're going to go from there. The best way for you to learn, and I implore you to do this, every single stock has a 5-second title screen, and it's going to have a dope B-roll song in the background. You know, it's pretty tight. When that gets going, I want you to pause it there, go to Webull, go to Thinkorswim, whatever you use, and chart out these stocks yourself. The first thing you're going to look for are supports and resistances. What we're looking for is the places and the prices where price action stops and starts. I want you to use these lines to create channels, right? The goal to a successful channel is that it goes from support to resistance, resistance to support, support to maybe a new resistance, comes down, tests that, or keeps going down, right? You want to have channels with 100% success rates from support to resistance and vice versa. That way you can start charting your risk versus reward, right? If you know that support is at $1 and the price drops to 95 cents and holds, it's done. It's going to keep going down to the next support most likely, right? That's your main goal with supports and resistances. Price action stops, price action starts, channels that have 100% success rates. After that, I want you to make trend lines, right? They're diagonal. They can be very, very minuscule up. They can be very harsh. You can connect peak to peak, peak to bottom, bottom to peak, or bottom to bottom. I focus on bottom to bottom because that's the most pure way to finding the best reward. There are some stocks like PSNL where it broke above the channel and now it's using that old trend line as a support. That does happen too, right? But keep it simple, right? If you do not see it, do not force it in there, okay? Lastly, I want you to then turn on your indicators. Once price action is drawn up, you can start off with the volume profile to find some volume lines and chart those out. Find RSI, MACD, and Stochastic, and just read those and have an idea. Hey, is this gonna follow RSI better? Stochastic better? Does MACD crossovers work? Take a second and think about it. After that, turn on your EMA lines, 10, 50, 200. EMA is what I use. You can use whatever you want to use, right? But I want you to look at those and be like, do these lines mean anything? And if I was going to use them, is this an entry strategy or a validation strategy or both, right? These are the kind of questions you must ask yourself every single time. There's no shortcuts, okay? Sometimes it's super obvious and you'll be able to see some really great trend lines or support areas, and that makes that step quicker, but there's no shortcut to success. You may think there's a secret formula, there's some sort of chart, NIO to the moon, right? Every single person has different risk management, has different nerves, and we do not act the same, but we all can learn, and we can all learn the principles of technical analysis correctly to be successful, or at least more successful. After my dank pep talk, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Up first is AGRO, AGRO. This is very similar to PSNL the other week. It had a break in this beautiful channel we were playing before. It broke above it, and now we can kind of consider this to be a support trend line. Now this happens with really good channels, is that these are going to hold for at least a few bounces. You could argue it held here at this support area. So again, none of these are really going to be perfect. I could probably drag it up a little bit and say, yeah, this is definitely going to be a channel now going horizontally, but I'm not there. I don't know for sure. Right? I know that this area has been being held really well, and it's coexisting with this line. So if this drops down to about $6, I'd give it a little bit of time to drop down. If you wanted to buy in, you may see a really good bounce here and a continuation. I'm sure you could probably find some other stuff, like if you connect all these, you could see maybe that was going to be a play, or maybe come over here against those, right? Like these are things that folks really do, but these are kind of expert things I'm not going to really push on you. Real basic stuff. So we know that this is a support area in between $6 and $5.75, and we have a old channel that people still recognize. So the goal here is that it's going to drop down to about $6. You're going to buy in around there, and then hopefully you can make an easy 5, 6, maybe even like this, an easy 12%. That's the goal. And again, you have a very clear area to cut. If it doesn't hold here, you can then cut maybe, I'd probably cut halfway down, 1.5%, 588, cut around there, and then you could buy back in if it goes back up. Let's check the indicators. My favorite part of the indicators is I don't check these beforehand. Like I had never turned these on until I'm with you. So you can see my live mental breakdown of what I'm seeing. The big thing is this. The 50 EMA is right here. You can see it respects it historically, right? It does hug next to it, but it also highly respects the 200. You see a lot of action stops and starts at the 200. How it bounces around it. That's a big indication too. So it may be smarter if you're really like into risk versus reward and being patient. You could try the 50 MA play here. Again, if it doesn't hold at $6, which is ironic, that's the area I said to buy at. If it doesn't hold here, you just buy in at the 200 EMA line, right? So that's going to be the move on the charting, is wait for the 200 and buy there. RSI is 45, so it's it's fair. It's still lower though. Stochastic says a pullback is imminent. That's fair. It looks like there is one happening. And the MACD is low. So AGRO, again, a great one for your watch list. Play it at $6 if it bounces around this area. If not, buy at the 200 EMA. Really, really easy play. It's a really good read. AMGN. So we have what looks like a steady buildup. It blasts off, and now it's been kind of on a sell-off. Big blast, sell-off, creeping back. Historically, we can see it does have some areas of consolidation where it does this kind of thing. And it's really trying to hold close to this channel line right now. It's really sucked in there like it was over here. So once it breaks above, it's going to come back and retest and hopefully take off. That's going to be our long-term play. It is important to recognize that this is lower highs, but this is higher lows. So that's a triangle. It's going to break out one way or the other. Now, this is a $230 stock, so I understand if you have a small account, maybe just buy 1 share or 2 shares. But this is definitely an area of resistance it's at right here. Just historically, you can see from here and up, a lot of channels get created. So if it breaks above a little bit, that's going to be a good sign. I can see it dropping a little bit, but it's only 2% away, okay? But if it breaks up from here and then comes up, retests, and takes off, hopefully an easy 7 to 10% on this play. It's just a good triangle. It's consolidating. I want to see it break above this lower highs, retest it, and take off. Let's check the indicators. So looking at the indicators, it seems to really respect the 200 EMA line and somewhat of the 50, but it doesn't really seem to respect either one all that much on this time level. So looks like the 50 is probably what it respects more. A lot of these bounces. and that is right below it. So that's a support, which is again in your favor. So it looks like it's just riding this. But again, consolidation means a move's coming either way. Fair price, Stochastic's oversold, but I think it's just consolidating. So it's a really easy play. If it breaks above the 200, you're probably going to see a nice big candle like that. So I mean, you can go long here. If it breaks above, we're hoping to see a really big candle up. If it doesn't and it comes back down to maybe like, this should be gold. If it comes down to this line, then you can buy in there. But a good one to watch if you have a little bit more money, that's great. If not, buy 1 or 2 shares. But AMGN is a great triangle play ready to happen. CANF, Can Fight Biopharma Litadir sponsored. So this may look a little scary to some people, and it certainly can be. But the thing that's important to realize, and this is like that stock Jill, there's not many massive sell-offs. There's only big sell-offs when there's a giant boom, right? Like there wasn't a sell-off. Like how many sell-offs took place beneath this line? None. There's not been a stark drop-off. But there's a lot of stark blast-offs, right? This is one of those stocks where you could easily grab 30 or 40%. Now, as of recently, we're talking closer to maybe like 10 to maybe 20, and that's fair, right? And again, let's see how long these are apart. 18 days, 13 days, 21 days. So we have about a 3-week period between blast-offs, right? And again, once it blasts off, you better get off because it's going to take you down with it. This channel has been successful the last few months. From buying in it, you got some money. Buying in it, you got some money. Bought in it, technically, over here, and then it took off. So I'm not quite sure if it's still downtrending yet or if it's going to reverse here. It's not the easiest chart to track for that. But again, if it comes anywhere into this red dotted area, you've made money. So where it's at now, you're about a good 2.5–3% away from a really good buy-in rate. It's all about value. So this drops back into here. That'll be great because if we can buy anywhere down here, we're talking easily 15–20% eventually. You're going to have to hold this for a little bit possibly just to kind of get some good moves out of it. But just like that JILL stock, Jill, this has really big boom or bust potential. But again, the bust is like 4 or 5%. The boom is like 20. So that's a really good look. Let's check the indicators. So a lot of spaghettis on the right-hand side here. It looks like there's definitely a correlation between taking over the 50 EMA line and booms. It looks like there's a giant correlation between 50 EMA and 200. Now, what's interesting, though, is this is the first time in a long time that the 50 is above the 200. That's a big sign because once it takes over here, it's going to be above both of them in just a second here. If that's the case, that's probably why it's consolidating. So that's a powder keg ready to happen. RSI is a fair price. Stochastic is low. But this is definitely a divergence. So like over here and see how these are different. Ooh, I like that. So that's a really good sign. Just for context real quick, this is important. So you can see this is a deteriorating stock. Like it definitely has had better days. But again, how much lower can it go? That's a good point. It's really rock bottom. We're kind of playing this channel. So can it drop to like $1.25? Sure, I guess that's from the crash, but I guess that is your horribly, horribly worst case is you lose 50% of this. But I mean, that's not often, and I don't see earnings coming or anything. Earnings just happened and nothing happened bad to it. So looking at this from the price action and the indicators, again, a little bit more of a white knuckler holding on to it. But if you were to buy in and trust it and give it time to develop, you can make 40–50%. At least 20 off a big bump. CANF, a little more of an intermediate play, but again, a great one nonetheless. Next is CAT, CAT. I'm not even confident that I would even play CAT tomorrow, but I want to bring it to your attention while it's doing this. I've been playing and watching it for a long time, like 7 months, long time. The indicators is what you want to look at. But with this price action, you can see it's clearly going up. You have clear areas of like different levels of value, like that all matches up way too perfectly, right? That's not an accident. And a lot of these peaks kind of line up also perfectly, which again is not an accident. So it's kind of wedging at the moment, which breaks my heart because wedges do break eventually. But one could also argue that you can connect this peak and up, and again, that's perfect. So you actually have a really good channel. So it just kind of depends on what philosophy you like to follow. But just watching this stock in general, it's just a great uptrend. But let's check the indicators. That's where the meat and potatoes are for CAT. So when it comes to Gato, we can see that the big play is the 200 EMA line. Like clockwork, my boy. It just bounces off the 200, and then it rides the 50. 200, rides the 50. 200, rides the 50. And currently it's just riding the 50. Now, I mean, I was tempted to tell people about this because I started my channel maybe like in this area, just to ride the 200, ride the 50. You'd only be up 7%, so like it's not that great of a stock at this area. But this is such a consistent winner that you could buy it anytime when it gets close to 200 EMA and ride it up. My hunch is this is going to die soon. It can't do this forever. But I'm having a guess it's going to probably come down here and hit into this 200 EMA line, this support area very soon, as it historically does that. See how it always tests the old resistances. This is definitely one. So just prime yourself, put this on your watch list for like a week or two away. I didn't want you to miss this one because I really, really like CAT. Anytime the RSI is under 40, it's made money, 100% of the time. So when it gets beneath 40, you buy in. The Stochastic says it's getting low, and again, it could just keep on bopping off the 50, but I just need to put your eyes on it. Put CAT on the watch list, put an alert for an RSI cross of like 32 or 42, and just watch after this. It's going to be a great play in the future. Next is CDAY. I've called CDAY before, and I'm calling it again. There are some things to consider with a play like CDAY. And I mean, you could definitely kind of connect this and be like, whoa, it's really slowing down. Yes, it is. But given the current market, a lot of these stocks kind of like go up, and then we have that few red days, which we've kind of had a few days of that, and then it takes off again. And again, the Stochastic does get exhausted. So you could even go back and see, yeah, it's not really touching there. But the good news is you can see over here it has a history of really going up, and then it dies off. So we got to do some math. That's a 23% move. This was a 17, and this was a 8. So there is a chance that this is going to kind of die off here. If that's the case, it's still great to put on your watch list, because if it doesn't live in our channel here, which is only going to be a 2% loss at worst, it doesn't live here, it's going to come down to either $91 or $85, possibly 90. So any of these three lines is going to come down to, and that's going to be your new launching point, or it may start a new horizontal channel. You see how over here it was like, and then it died, and it died right into this area of support. You see that? How it died right there? You see that? It went up, boop, and then it took off again. So we have a good hunch here that this is going to be the future play if it doesn't live here. We're going to buy in at the next support, and then we're going to hold it for a good month or two and make like 40, 50%, right? We were to buy in right where it died off at. Right now you'd be up 45%. That's good stuff. So the channel is really promising, but again, if it does not live and starts consolidating more, we're going to wait and then buy in later. Let's check the indicators. And they're good. This is, again, a 50 EMA bounce play. Now, you need to put this in a context. You always need to put things in a context historically. Every stock responds differently. It definitely responds to the 200 EMA, but that's pretty far away. And I'm guessing that if this does die, it's going to coexist with this line. It's going to go, oh, this support, or maybe it's going to drop down and be like this support, right? It's going to find somewhere where a support line and that EMA line lines up, and that's where it's going to converge and take off from. So until then, you can ride the 50 EMA and use that as a stop loss, which will probably couple pretty well with our channel. Stochastic says it's getting real tired, and again, there's divergences. You can connect this to that, and you can then connect this to that, and you can see that they are in fact separate. That is a sign of bullish divergence. Peak to peak is bearish, bottom to bottom is bullish. Big facts, the more you know. So it looks like it has a chance of re-gearing up, but again, I'm sure if I look back here, there's probably plenty of places of divergences that did not live. So that's just one indicator, take in consideration. So it looks like it's really popping off here. If it doesn't live, you just buy in at $92 and you go from there. But CDAY in the future will be a fantastic stock now, tomorrow, or in a few weeks. I called HTHT. I said, hey, let it die. I actually called it right here. It died off and ran to our channel, and I was like, ooh, buy it. And then it went up 4%, and now it's kind of died off. I'm still holding it. That's why I'm calling it. This channel is a really nice channel. Again, and this is the beauty of Stoch, is that you can take this line and be like, well, isn't it technically more like this? And it's going to be like, a growing wedge, and then eventually it's going to break. Sure, you totally could. But I also think that maybe these little bumps are outliers, and this is still a great medium point for a channel. And also the peaks line up too well not to be a channel. And we can then take that line, and as you can see, I can apply it right there. And that's why I think this is a channel, not a wedge play. But again, who the hell am I? Trust who you want to trust. So this is a support area for sure, resistance, and this was obviously an ascending triangle kind of formation. Bam, broke through that bad boy, retested it, and took off. So it looks like it's kind of gearing up for some more steam. This support area is a great stop loss area. You just buy in here. If it doesn't live, okay, you lost 3.4%, maybe 3% if you're real fickle about it. You can also wait for it to kind of come in, but you zoom in, you can see we have, low, higher low, higher low. So it's closing with higher lows. That's a really good sign. And that's also across the board, right? So I think it's a good looking Stoch. We can even connect these two. See, that's too wide. We're not going to bother with that. So again, good support, good channel, really easy stuff. Let's check the indicators. Oh, this is a lovely play right now. The reason is this 200 EMA line is definitely going to be your strongest support. So you got three things going for you. That's what we call convergence. So convergence to the microphone. So you can see the best move here and the most profitable is going to be when it crosses 48.41 and breaks above that 50. That's going to be your real big signal to go long, because you can see every time it crossed both of them, stupid big candle, boy, right? It crossed both of them, big candle. Cross both of them, money. Cross both of them, because it's above here, right? So it looks like when it breaks the 50, it's going to really make some money. And then you can see there is a chance of a retest. Like, oh, money. It took off, right? Oh, money. It took off. So expect maybe a retest. It's going to come up and retest that. The Stochastic says it's a little bit overdone, I guess. I mean, on the full scale, I wouldn't agree. Fair price, RSI, and MACD finally crossed over. So I guess you could say the indicators at the bottom are fair at best, but the 200 EMA line is going to be your bread and butter. You can wait for it to get closer. You can wait for it to bounce here. It does have a history of breaking it a little bit, so don't be disconcerted. Okay, it broke it here. It came back. It didn't. It broke it a little bit, broke it. So don't get too scared. Okay, but again, this is going to be good for the long run. It's going to keep working. And the more volume up here we see, this volume line will move higher. And then if it moves higher, that's a great sign of strength. But HTHT as of right now in channel is a fantastic buy. Next is, we've talked about this before. We actually bought it on this big death, and it bounced up. We bought some, we got a little bit of money off it. This channel is quite large. I mean, it is a good 2%, which is a little bit more than I like to usually make them. But again, I think it's fine. So you have some obvious price action over here. This is a strong support area, and it's a strong resistance, right? You also can put one over here in this channel, right there. But again, if we're going to put this right here, then we're just adding a bunch of lines we don't need at the moment. So be on the lookout for, if it does drop, for me to put a line there. And if you put one there, great job. So as it's going up, you can see it's been successful from this channel. Even here, it made an easy 5%. And then it went on to make another good move of 11%. So this is definitely higher lows as we go on. Now we did have a higher high over here. So it did show some life recently. Then again, higher high over here. So it's shown life. And now again, these two are higher than over here. So we have some signs of life. So I wouldn't consider this exactly a descending triangle or a horizontal triangle quite yet. I would probably consider this more than anything a channel play horizontally. And we're just trying to capture this last move up. Now, if it does break and comes down to 56, that's dope. Because if it comes down here and it lives, then we're talking a big move. But for today, in the next few weeks, if it lives here tomorrow, breaks above it, I would definitely go long. Because you can connect any of these kinds of descending heights, and you can even see, just by doing that and connecting these two, looks like it retested this line to go back up. So it looks like it's a good one to run for at least a little bit. Let's check the indicators. So the EMA lines, it looks to respect the 50 for bounces. That's why I always have the 50. It's like the most bounce prone area. See, bounce, bounce. bounce, 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 right? And it seems to really respect the 200 for breakthroughs. You see how every time it touches it, that bad boy snaps through it with the freaking strength. Like blam through it, blam through it, blam, blam, blam. Is that on accident? No. And see how a gap there? Again, that's not an accident. Nothing on this is an accident. That's just technical analysis. Even over here, right? That's a big old candle up. So there's some really strong candles through it. So as it's holding above both of them, that's a good sign of strength. I guess you can consider it kind of a bad sign too, because it doesn't actually have any strength through it. That's probably why I got a little exhausted and kind of died off here. But RSI is a little bit high, so I would expect a small pullback possibly. But over here, you see how it kind of had two of these bumps, and then over here it said, oh, this is only a fair price, but it's obviously oversold or overbought on the grand scheme of things. So I guess RSI is an okay indicator. Stochastic, though, says it's a little bit tired and now it's curling, and that's a good sign. If we zoom in, I guess that's technically a... No, that's fine. There's no divergence there. That's cool. So that looks good. Stochastic is low and curling, and the MACD is consolidating. So I guess the indicators are in your favor, but only slightly. But price action-wise, O is a fantastic purchase, and then for the future, if it drops to 55 after this move, great. If not, it keeps moving up, it's going to be even better. Also, you can see it's a long-term ascending triangle. I mean, I didn't even mention that. But up, down, up, down, up, down. So this is definitely going to break out eventually. O is a great purchase for the future. Next is QTT. I hope it's understood that I try to find as many penny stocks as possible. They are extremely hard to find for really good technical setups, just because of this price action is pretty sporadic. But then also the volume I have, the needs are a little bit higher than most penny stocks. So please bear in mind when I do find them, they're technically sound, but I'm not excluding them often for a reason. I'm trying to find them for you guys, but again, I just chart what the market shows me, nothing more, nothing less. I don't cut corners. So when they come up like this $2 stock, I believe in it. But again, not my usual cup of tea when it comes to volume. But this one is particularly noise. So you're in for a treat. QTT, that's me. I have no friends. So QTT looks really good. It just sticks to this volume channel, right? You can see how much price action just cuts through and bounces off of this volume area. Now, what I don't love is this. Let's check the big scale. Let's see if I don't love it. I assumed. So I assumed this is a decaying one. It just kind of died off. I don't know what. I can't even pronounce that word, honestly. I'm not an English guy. But this is a little bit concerning that it's died off so hard. But at the same time, my assumption is that QTT probably has they need to have a certain price or a certain PE ratio to stay on the NASDAQ. So they're probably really trying to fight to keep it above $2 or even $1. Because once you break that low, you get taken off the NASDAQ and the Dow and all that. So I think this is probably a fantastic value, just given the history again of looking back. And this is a nice lesson for you with penny stocks. There's a reason it hasn't broken down beneath this line, right? And the reason is if it does, they get in some serious trouble. So I think that's a fantastically strong support in retrospect. So anywhere in this area, we'll just say from here, you made, off this purchase, you would have made 16, you would have made 27, and you would have made 44, but ultimately, if you were a mind reader, 96%. Over here, you would have lost money, but you would have broke back through 21%, and as of recently, 39. So we're talking big numbers here, like LeBron James stat lines. But again, we need to see life. So you have two options here. I'm taking more time than usual because this is a very volatile stock. And if it gets delisted or something crazy, so do your due diligence, I'd feel terrible. So it's showing higher lows through all this. I mean, is this really a trend line? Yeah, it's 2 months of information. I would consider it something. But I would feel comfortable buying it here. But then again, your stop loss needs to be below 2.1, which is 7%. So again, that's a lot. Too much for me, most likely. Until I see some life. I'm sure there's an indicator that'll show us something. But given that, it's going to probably take a day or two to reverse. And when you see some green, I would definitely go long. Or you can wait. And if you wait for it to break above here, like you want to give it 6% or 6 cents to break above here and then show life, I would definitely go long then. Let's check the indicators. So it looks like it really respects the 200, for sure. Like when it gets close to it, it's like, oh God. Whew, pardon me. And it bounces off of it a lot. You know, right here, it all bounces off of it. So that's really going to be your indication of a really, really good buy, is when it can overtake the EMA lines. Because you can also see when it cuts over both of them, that's when you get your biggest profit margin, is when it cuts both of them, and it really shows strength. Now, in the meantime, I wouldn't be too concerned, because it did show life here, right? When, frick, and didn't live, but then when I did cross it, boom. So the key is to get in early. That's literally what swing trading is. So if you were to buy in now, probably worst case you're going to see is maybe 10 or 15% if it does what we want it to do. Best case 30, worst case you're going to have to cut it at a pretty significant loss of 5 or 6%. It just had earnings, or is it having earnings? Yeah, it had it yesterday. Nothing really seems to be happening, so that's cool. Now I guess it did dip off a good 10% and then some more. So keep that in mind as we go through this too. It definitely has an earnings call. Oh, little green baby. That's something right there. So RSI is oversold. Stochastic can't get too much lower. MACD can't get much lower. Again, if you like penny stocks and you have more experience, please comment and say what you think. But I think fundamentally speaking, you need to look into this for sure. But technically speaking, it's a fantastic deal. Let's check the next one. Wrapped. Wrapped. That's the orange line I called this at. I said it's probably going to die tomorrow. Lord, I didn't know it was going to die that bad because it's such a beautiful channel. And then it just went. So I don't exactly love the deal here. I mean, it's, you know, in the middle of a channel that's certainly pretty obvious. But again, I also love the fact that the history says it goes right up to it and then comes down and does it again. Is it going to do that again? Hope so. So we have a pullback here, right? And folks love to buy in on the first pullback and the second pullback. You see, going up here, that's your first pullback, and it went up. That's your second pullback, it went back up. So as pullbacks happen, folks are going to buy in with steam. Now, again, it looks like this is possibly going to be a resistance area. I mean, there's definitely one here. As you can see, right, it's blocking all this action. And that's probably what's happening. It's making this kind of quote-unquote ascending triangle formation. I would like to see this hit 26 bucks again. If it hit 26 bucks and come back down, I feel about 5 times more confident. Because that shows it's like, you know, really showed some steam, said, you know, test that, came back down, and then goes back through it. But again, it's still a fantastic trend. This is still a very strong trend line, right? Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times now. It's showing life. So Wrapped is getting some power and some steam behind it. But again, you have a huge amounts of, you know, possible reward. Just with this one, make sure you're going to cut it responsibly. Maybe like 23.37, 23.50. That's going to be your call to be like, cut it if it really does hold beneath that. Because that means that we're going to probably have a new channel down here. Let's check the indicators. So they're not necessarily good or bad for the EMA lines. It's even. The reason I say that is it respects both of them. It rides the 50 and bounces off of it, but it also is highly respectable of the 200, and it's in the middle. So the real question is which one does it respect more, the 200 or the 50? Most traditionalists would say the 200 because it's more information, obviously. But at the same time, it does seem to hug the 50 much closer. And see how it doesn't respect the 200 at all. In some of these instances, it doesn't even care that's there, basically. So, I mean, I guess it's important. But at the same time, that's going to be your stop loss for sure is when it breaks and holds beneath the 50, which is a good percentage away. So if you're into it, go for it for sure. RSI doesn't look great. Stochastic's pulling back, and MACD's consolidating. So again, if you have faith in these kinds of plays, if you really like sell-off plays and they build back up, great, go for it. It's definitely going to be an EMA play. So make sure you have the 200 and the 50 turned on. That's going to show you the consolidation range. If you're really risk averse, let this die a little bit to the 50 and then buy in and go long. If it breaks above and you miss it, life will go on. Let's check the next one. UMPQ, we called this the other week, or actually I think last week. Yeah. So the reason we called it was it kind of came down to the channel and came back up. That was dope. And now it's retesting it. I mean, is this a sustainable channel, altitude, steepness? No, it's not. It really isn't. But like over here, it had a much steeper one, and it lived for a good amount of time too, right? So I'm not saying this is necessarily a long-term play, but I think you can get a few more percent out of this one. If it lives here and goes long, you're talking 5, 6, 7, 10% easy. And if it dies, guess what? You're going to come down to 14.5 at 2.3%. You'll hold it for a second, and it's probably going to make its own little standard little channel there and bounce off it, and then possibly keep running up. So it's a really easy staircase level, kind of like how it kind of staircases up. It goes up, taps, goes up really high, and then it kind of like jiggles back and then comes back up and bounces. So it's like walking up a set of stairs, right? Step, consolidate, step, consolidate. That's the goal with this. And again, 14.5 is a very strong support, and also that'll be your stop loss. Let's check the indicators. So this is obviously a 50 EMA bounce play. I mean, clear as daytime, as it's really dark in Atlanta. So you can see these bounces off of the 50, super simple. So I guess you can even consider 14.64 your stop loss if it doesn't hold above the 50. And if it dies, guess what? You're just going to play out the 200. The RSI, sleepy today. The RSI is a fair price. Stochastic's in the middle. It has some room to drop. And then MACD is consolidating. So the indicators aren't really for you. The only relevant one is the 50. If the 50 holds and goes long, you could easily see, that was a good 8% day right there on that little run. But UMPQ in the future may drop and then hit some other supports and then make a new channel. We're going to be here for that too. Next is a very similar play to QTT, but on kind of a larger scale, I guess you could say, is UNFI. So United National Foods Com. You can see very clear lower highs. That's not an accident, okay? Like even the earnings was like, run up to what this line matches, die. And then it dove and it landed here for a reason. No, not every stock has such clear areas. Like CRK does this too. But this is like a large version of CRK. So what are we looking at? We have some life. I wish we would have caught this move. We've been toit, but we didn't because life happens. So we're going to look for possibly, this is going to say this as it's moving up now. This is our first pullback basically. Went up and it came down to here. So that's what these wicks mean. So we had this move. And now we have that. So this could be your technical first pullback, a good place to buy. And I'm not lying. You go back and look at historicals. Huge run up, pullback, run up, pullback, run up, pullback. And remember, from like this peak over here, you would have had a held for a week just to see a higher high of holding this. So it's not always worth it for some people. Run up, pullback, run up, pullback. So this thing runs off of big run ups, pullback, pullback. So I mean, there will be a pullback in this. I think it could be going up until that channel for sure. And there just may be a longer hold than you expect, but there's going to be a place to buy in. It could be right now. And then again, best case, hopefully you're talking 17 easy percent. And then worst case is you can cut it, but again, you will just buy back in at our volume area. Anywhere, from 15.2 down to 14.5 is a great value, and it's going to run beautifully. Let's check the indicators. It's definitely in favor of the 200. It just really hovers it and then blocks any action and really blasts through with steam when it does break it. Like, oh, I did it, Dad, and it dies. Like, oh, I did it, Mom, and it dies. So it looks like that's going to be your cue to really go long. This is when it overtakes the EMA lines. And it's beneath the 50 ump. That's also not an accident. And you can see the first pullback happens around this area. So expect a pullback soon. If it doesn't break this, that's going to be a little bit more concerning because it's like higher high, lower high, lower high, lower high, which means it could be getting and losing some steam. And again, a good practice is to go back 5 years and see. Yeah, see, it does technically have room to drop. I mean, it, went up and then it came down. So I guess you could consider even like the area of 1309 as an area that it would definitely stop at, I think, and get some strength. But, as of now, this channel is very, very strong. But if it does die a little bit, that's why you have some room to drop still. But again, RSI is fair. Stochastic is kind of exhausted. Like I said, it looks like it kind of, see this run up over here, how worthless the Stochastic looks? Like this whole area is just like, real, that's, that says it's exhausted over here. So I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag here at the indicators. It says it's a fair price, but it said this was all 30 at, this was the same kind of RSI price at a 10% difference. So like kind of a mixed bag on the indicators. There are things going to be the EMA lines. When it breaks both those, I'd certainly go long. And that's why you're kind of getting this consolidating here, right? There's between the 10 confirmed and then over here. But again, it's a great stock for the future. So there you have it. Those are 12 plays for the day. Yes, first try. So you can go back through any of the old watch lists and you can pause it on the ticker and then redo the charting yourself. That's a great lesson because you know those setups are fantastic. And then again, you could also then backtrack and see what I did and then how it turned out for you. Now I cover that as well, but if you want to do it on your own time, it's just as good. Tomorrow's Friday, so no new video tomorrow.